Everybody. Great morning, great morning, great morning. For those of you guys who are just jumping in, do me a huge favor. Put in the comment where you are tuning in from. We're getting ready to go live here in just 1 second. Trying to get myself squared away. Got some special things kind of lined out for you guys this morning, at least a special message anyway. And it was suggested to me by my wife that I talk about some things specifically relative to how to pick a partner, how to pick the right one. And Sheri is going to be jumping on in a minute. And I'm excited, guys. Good morning, Teresa. Good morning, Karen. Do me a favor, chime in. Where are you tuning in from, guys? Where are you tuning in from? What part of the world are you tuning in from? I don't know what the weather looks like for you guys, but man, we woke up this morning and it was raining so hard that I thought it was a tornado happening. I mean, the wind was kicking up. It was a situation. I'm trying to get Instagram squared away, guys. Tiffany is driving. Got it. Hey, Sheri, I see you, baby. We got some things coming on. Let me get Instagram set up. Guys, if you're on Instagram, do me a favor. And if you have the ability to open up two separate devices, I would love to have you hop over to Instagram as well, just to be able to engage that audience and help them sort of along a little bit because, quite frankly, I don't like to leave my Instagram family all all by themselves. So y'all do me a huge favor and hold on 1 second. Do me a huge favor, guys, and hop over again if you are on Instagram at all. Follow us on Breakfast with the Brookses. That's what our Instagram channel is for this particular show, and I want you guys to click the link in the bio over there and follow us on Instagram or on YouTube rather. Hold tight. I'm getting ready to go live on Instagram. What's going on Instagram? Great morning, guys. Great morning. Great morning. Let me go ahead and reveal what's going on. I'm on YouTube. For those of you guys who are joining us by way of Instagram, do me a huge favor and go ahead and click the link in the bio. Follow us on YouTube, and we would love to be able to engage you over on that platform. For those of you guys who are just jumping in, great morning, everybody. I'm Glenn P. Brooks Jr. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, and I'm a coach, and I'm excited. I'm flying solo today, guys, for a very specific reason. For a very specific reason. So Sheri and I woke up, we've been up since what, 6 o'clock this morning or so. And I don't know if you've ever had those mornings where you just laying in the bed and you're just sort of being reflective, right? You're just kind of thinking back over, maybe how good God is, maybe what's going on in your life, things that are going around. What's going on, Dre? Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. Good to see you. Sheri is on. Jay is on. J Mill. Good to see you. Dre is on Instagram. I really, really want you guys to share this out to as many people as possible so that you guys can spread the word. We're going to help some singles this morning. And I think that this is an area where a lot of single people struggle simply because I don't think that many of us have really been taught, y'all. When I say taught, meaning no one really stopped to give us the game on how we should be thinking when it comes to picking a partner. And I say it on purpose when I say thinking, meaning literally what kind of thought process are we putting into that? So far, we've been talking about the idea that, a lot of people pick people based on what they like. A lot of people pick people to rock with, people to be friends with, people to get in relationship with, jobs, quite frankly, based upon the things that you like. And the thing that I've learned over the years, I'll be 54 this year, later on this year. And the things that I've learned more than anything else is that my likes will change. Put that in the chat. Put that in the chat. I'm going to adjust my Instagram folks here a little bit. Your likes will change. Put that in the chat. Your likes will change. Rarely do what you value changes. Rarely. And when I say that, meaning that they will evolve or they will kind of grow and ebb and flow a little bit, but rarely do they just flat out change. Your values are something that's sort of centered in who you are at your DNA level. And so I'm going to talk to you guys about a few things that Sheri and I were reflecting on. And she said, you know what? You should go and you should talk by yourself today. I said, what? She said, yeah. you should share some of the stuff that you've been sharing, that we've been talking about all morning, she and I. You should talk about that. You should talk about that. And then next week, I'm going to come back and I'm going to give it a talk. I'm going to talk from my perspective on the same things. And so, if you're just joining us, last week we started this series out talking about how to pick the person that you should be in relationship with based on who you are. That's the caveat. Based upon who you are. That's the caveat. Does that make sense, guys? I'm telling you right now, do me a favor. Tiffany says she can't see me on YouTube. Just make sure that everybody else can everybody sees me on YouTube. We good? Karen, give me a thumbs up if you can see us. Tiffany says she can't see. Okay, she sees us now. All right, cool. So obviously something was going on with Tiffany. So Instagram, listen. When most people pick people that they're going to be with, what often happens is that they pick based upon what they like. You like a woman with long hair. You like a woman who is thin. You like a woman who's a little thicker. If you're a female, you may like tall men. You may particularly like guys who are funny, or maybe you want a quiet guy. These are the things that you like. And although there's absolutely nothing wrong with liking things and really getting close to people based on what you like, what you have to fundamentally understand is that those likes are likely to change. Let me say this so that you're clear. Most people change and they evolve, their likes change probably every 5 to 7 years. What you like, and this is just statistical fact, I could go back and research, and studies have shown that, culturally speaking, things that we liked 5 years ago, or even in the area of music or food, or pet peeves that you had, like they evolve, they change, right? And that's because what you like is based upon emotions more than anything else. And one of the things that's kind of tricky about emotions is that emotions, if you're not careful, can send you mixed signals. Emotions can typically have you in a place deciding stuff that, quite frankly, you really didn't want to be there, because emotionally you felt like, you know what, this is where I'm at right now. You get what I'm saying? If you're just jumping in, maybe you don't know this already, but Sheri and I created a relationship academy. It'll be 3 years next week. I can't believe it. 3 years ago, next week on the 30th, not quite next week, but next week, next Thursday, will mark 3 years in a row that we created the MAPS Relationship Academy. And basically what we do there is we help people in relationships, whether it is in a couple's relationship, in a parenting relationship. It might even be in a singles relationship where you are trying to position yourself to be married. We get the opportunity to share with men, with women, in separate group coaching environments, guys, where we literally help them grow their relationships intentionally. That's what we do. That's what we do. And it looks like it's Crystal. I'm not sure if that's you. These folks on IG, do me a favor, put your government name in the chat so I know exactly who I'm talking to. Y'all be tripping me out talking about Mookie 27. Bruh, that was who you were in high school. Put your government name in that chat so I can know who I'm talking to personally. But what I'm telling you is, and I appreciate you being on, if you pick something based upon what you like, what you're going to do is set yourself up based on something that will change later. I need y'all to hear that. I know that's Andre. Yup. Dre all day. You use that everywhere. That's why I know that's you. Listen, Christy, listen. If you pick today based on what you like today, promise you 5 years from now, you may be having a problem because that's not what you like. So one of the things that Sheri and I learned really quickly is that didn't work for us in the past. And so we've been talking about that over the last few weeks. If you want to know more about us and what we do, I want you to visit us online at www.thecrcoach.com, www.thecrcoach.com. That's where you can find out more about the MAPS Relationship Academy. If you want to join that academy, if you want to grow in community with a bunch of people who are crushing it and who are trying to figure this out together, because we all need some help, I want you to do me a favor and go over and really sign up for a free discovery session, guys, and really find yourself in a place where you can come join our community, and in that way we can kind of grow together. So let me get into this content. If you're ready for this, content, put ready in the chat. Sharon, good to see you. Sheri is on the line both on YouTube and on Facebook, on Instagram, because she asked me, look, hey, babe, we've been talking about some things. I'm going to bring you on a conversation that we were having this morning. And I want to share this with you so that you can understand where I'm going with this. She asked me, look, I'm going to have you go talk today because what you shared with me this morning, people need to hear from you. And I'm going to come back next week and I'm going to share my perspective on some things. And we're talking about tips to help you pick a good partner. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever picked the wrong person and you didn't realize that until after you put me in the chat? Have you ever picked the wrong person to befriend, to date? And Lord help you if you pick the wrong one to marry. I've done them all. There's no judgment. Okay? I've done them all. And when I say pick the wrong one, I picked based upon some things that I didn't know wouldn't last. And so last week, we talked about the idea of, and I want to kind of recap just a little bit for context and for people who may not were on last week, is that I want you to write this down. What do you value? Put that in the chat. What do you value? What is your vision? Put that in the chat. What is your vision? And what does victory look like for you? So to make it short, put value, number one, number two, vision, number three, victory. Put that in the chat. When we talk about values, what we're talking about is that deep-seated thing that makes you up on the inside. What you value is how you're made. It's how you're created. I'll give you a quick example. Sheri values integrity. Always has. She has been a person, and I was talking to her this morning about how I'd never met a person that wanted to, that were desperate about doing the right thing. Does that make sense? When I say desperate, meaning Sheri would press to do the right thing over anything. It was just how she was made up. If we go to the grocery store, she wasn't about to pull up into a handicapped space because that's just not the right thing. You don't do that. She was a rules person. I had never met a person quite married to rules like that. You know, there's an order to things. It should be done this way, not that way. That's the reason why they created the rule. What I didn't know is that Sheri was super analytical. What I didn't know was that that was part of her temperament. And what I really didn't know is that it also found its sort of foundation in her values. Does that make sense, guys? And so when I talk about that, I'm talking about that from the perspective that it wasn't going to change. And I need y'all to understand that when you're dealing with someone regarding their values, that ain't going to change. So if you're dealing with a person who really values structure, that's not going to change. You mess around, you get married to a person and you're not structured, you're going to have some challenges. And what you're going to find out is that it's going to become a source of irritation for you 100% of the time. Now, it doesn't have to be a deal breaker if you can make the adjustment. But here's what most people aren't willing to do. They're not willing to make the adjustment on something they didn't, quote, sign up for. Sheri asked me, she said, you know, again, we're talking about the fact that we've been married for 21 years and we're laying in the bed. And she's like, I can't believe we're here. And we're looking out. It's raining outside. It's dark. We open the blinds and, you know, we live on the fourth floor on the top floor of our building. And we overlook a body of water where we live. And I promise you, we're just watching this rain come down and we were reflective. And we were sitting here saying, you know what, how did we get here? You know, how did we come this far? Because we were very dysfunctional when we met. And we were coming out of that, but it was something that we were intentionally doing. And guys, I promise you, it really settled and boiled down to what we value. So Christy, listen to me carefully. And I'm going to give you guys some real practical tips as to how to discover what people value right here today. So hang around. I'm going to talk to you a little bit. And I'm going to take my time because this is important. If you miss this part as a single person, you are going to pick wrong. And here's what I know to be true. All y'all can say, you know what? Yup, he ain't no lies there. Because I've picked wrong and I have been able to live to regret that. If that's you, put a thumbs up in the chat. You know what I'm saying? How many of y'all have picked wrong and you live to say, Lord Jesus, what in the world did I do? Now, sometimes you found that out after 3 years of marriage. Hello. It was. I mean, no disrespect, but it was like, dear goodness, like how do I? And then now you're thinking, how do I get out of this? Now here's the problem with that. Particularly if you're a believer, you're thinking, well, I ain't really got no real reason to get a divorce. I just don't. They just irritate the crap out of me. Like, is that a reason? Now you thumbing through the Bible, talking about where's the scripture that lets me out of this? Y'all, hey, listen, I ain't come to play with y'all. Ain't nobody paying me to be here. I'm gonna say what needs to be said, and y'all know I'm telling the truth. I'm telling the truth. If I'm telling the truth, put he right, he right. Put that in the chat. He right, he right. You get what I'm saying, Karen? Karen, you already know. What's up, Danielle? My brother from South Africa. Good to see you, my friend. So listen, we're gonna talk a little bit about values because when you get a full understanding of how values work, it will lead you to understanding vision. Most people who get in relationships do not have a vision for where they're going and what that actually looks like and how the other person plays a part in that journey. Y'all, I need y'all to hear me. Most people, when they begin to date, when they begin to see other people, when they're out, living that single life, they're not picking people based upon where they're going themselves and how that person fits into that equation. You're not even really thinking like that. And the reason why is because you're too busy having fun. I know I was, right? And so when Sheri and I met, I remember clearly saying, you know what? She fits. I can rock with her forever because I know where I'm going. I don't know if y'all understand. This is the kind of stuff, Christy, that will cause you not to compromise. It's not because you're better than somebody. It's because you know who you are. And more importantly, you know where you're going. And when that happens, the game changes, guys. Hey, Michonne, good to see you. When that happens, the game changes because now that's what causes you not to put up with foolishness. That's what causes you not to put up with stupid stuff. That's what causes you not to put up with things that you can't tolerate, that you won't tolerate, that you know that not that you're above people, but that is beneath you in the sense of that's not who I am. That's not where I'm going. If you are a person that's not about that crime life and you meet a person who is stealing and lying and maybe they're embezzling from their company, whatever the case may be, and you run and you find it out, you'll go the other way because you're not about that life. But here's the problem. Most people don't tip their hands and tell you all of what they got happening. I'm going to give you guys a real surefire way to discern and figure out where people's values are before we get off this call this morning. This one tip I'm going to give you. Just one. And it's going to help you. It's something Sheri and I did, not quite this way, because we didn't really know we were doing this, y'all. We were just aware enough to know that what we did in the past went wrong. And if what we wanted in the future was different than what we had in the past, we were going to have to do something different. Does that make sense? So number one, I said values. Number two, we talked about vision. Where are you going as an individual? And more importantly, how does the person that you are looking to be with, how do they play a part in that journey? Dre, I remember when you and Karen got together and we came up along in the same community and it became very apparent and very clear that the way we need to do this is different than the way we've seen. The way we need to do this, the way we need to move forward has to be very different than things that we've seen because what we know is whether it happened in our life personally or whether we watched that in other people's lives, it didn't go so well. It's almost, that's where that statement was born. How's that working for you? That's where that statement came from. Does everybody get that? So number three, I want to talk about victory. And when I say victory, guys, I want to ask you, and we're just doing a little bit of recap for those people who may not have been there last week. And Tiara, good to see you. Women are more inclined to recognize that and act on it, but men still trying to see if maybe there is something else better, possible options. I'm going to address that too, Tiara. And I'm going to tell you why that is, I believe, particularly where men are concerned, and how you as a young lady can navigate around that without it jamming you up. See, because what will happen is that, and I agree, you will come to the relationship really clear, but he's not. And it's not necessarily just because he wants more options or he's trying to see. I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to come back to that. So, Tierra, remind me before we get off. I want to address that because I think that there's some fundamental things that causes men to drift and men to not commit. And you can pick up on that long before you get into that. Does that make sense? And it doesn't have to take a long time. And quite frankly, there are some guys who are right there that you may want to slow your roll just a little bit and do more observing than engaging. Tierra, you about to mess me all the way up, and I'm about to get way off track, but I want to finish this point, and then I'm going to come back to that. Listen, number 3, we talk about victory. When I say victory, put this in the chat. What does a win look like for you? What does a win look like for you? When I say what does a win look like for you guys, here's what I mean by that. In relationships, you have to determine what the finish line looks like for yourself. Does that make sense? You are going to have to determine what does the finish line look like for you. Because everybody's finish line looks different. I need y'all to hear that. Everybody's finish line, bring IG in just a little bit closer. Everybody's finish line looks very different. Guys, let me help you understand. Mashawn, listen, they don't understand. The finish line for me looked very different than the finish line for my ex-wife. The finish line for me looked very different for Sheri than it did for her ex-husbands. The finish line for both of us, when we came together, hear this, was the exact same finish line. We had never talked about it with each other. In other words, what does the relationship look like at the end? And if you can understand where that is before you start, you can reverse engineer that process and then build towards that end. When Sheri and I look back over the last 21 years, guys, let me help you understand something. What you see and what we have, we built. We made this. Dre, I don't know if they understand. I don't know if y'all really understand. Too many people are getting in relationships and throwing caution to the wind because they think that things are just going to unfold and it's just going to work out. It ain't. You're going to have to become an active participant in building what it is that you want. But it's very difficult to build what you want if you don't have a blueprint. Does that make sense? Try building a house without a blueprint. Go for it. Try working on an electrical system on a car without the schematics. Go ahead and try. Try putting together a 1,000-piece puzzle without the picture of it. You don't know what the picture should look like. You're just putting together a puzzle. Go for it. Try it. Here's what you're going to find. You're going to find yourself frustrated. You're going to mess around and hurt yourself depending on what you're working with. If it's electricity, hello? You're going to find yourself super in debt. You're going to spend more money trying to figure that situation out than you ever thought imaginable. It's called you don't have the right building materials. And so what you'll do is you'll go out and you'll invest in stuff and you'll spend stuff you don't need. As an entrepreneur, quick side note, many people think that they need all these toys in order to be able to build a business. Let me tell you what I found out 4.5 years ago. It costs $0 to start a business in many cases. What it does cost money is to scale it, to grow the business. But if you don't know what tools that your business needs in order to grow it, you will never get traction. Thus, you'll never get profitable and you will go out of business. Relationships work the exact same way. You'll go out of relationship. I'm telling you right now, having been married for 12 years prior to Sheri, our relationship fizzled because we didn't have the right resources. We didn't have the right materials to build that thing because we had no idea what our end looked like. I hope y'all are hearing me. And so this Saturday morning on Breakfast with the Brookses, I'm up here by myself because Sheri and I laid in the bed this morning and we were having a conversation about, Glenn, you should probably share that with the community. And then I'm going to come back and share my perspective next week. And we're going to try and help drill down because I want you guys to understand that what you see and what Sheri and I have, we built that. It didn't just happen. But here's the good news. You can do the exact same thing. You're no different than me. You're no different than Sheri. The challenge is that we don't see the same. So I want to go to, and we talked about values, vision, and victory. I want to go to one thing that we said that will help you pick the right person. Last week we said this, is this. People will tell you exactly who they are. It's up to you to listen. Maya Angelou said it this way. When people tell you who they are, believe them the first time. A lot of people like to want to leave off that last little piece. When people tell you who they are, believe them the first time. Now, here's what I want to submit really quickly, guys, because I got somewhere else I want to go. People don't tell you verbally who they are. They show you. Your job is to see it and believe it. Put that in the chat. See it and believe it. I had a young lady that I dated right before Sheri and I met. And she told me flat out, I never will forget, we were living in Maryland at the time, and went to actually see, believe it or not, it was Dave Chappelle at a comedy club in Laurel. Before he was the Dave Chappelle we all know today. This was years ago. And what was funny to me was we were having a great time, and she told me she had a drink. She had had a drink. And she looked me dead in my face. Christy, listen to me. Listen to me. Christy, you got to hear this. Dre, listen. LaShawn, you got to hear this. She looked me dead in my eyes. She said, I'm not a very nice person. I'm not a very nice person. That's what she said. And guys, listen. Now you have to understand, this woman had to be barely 5 feet, tiny little thing, in my opinion, cute as a button. And I'm thinking, nah, stop that already. We're in a comedy club. You got jokes. That's what I'm thinking. And I sloughed it off just like that. This was earlier on in our relationship, right? And so she says, I'm not a very nice person. And I've just come to the realization of that. I'm just realizing that. I said, what? Nah, what do you mean? You're a great person. And we had worked together in the past, in the same industry, not the same company, but the same industry. So we worked together, and so we ran into each other a lot. And I'm thinking, I wouldn't be out with you if I didn't think you were a very nice person. Like, what are you talking about? Well, this proceeded to unfold in ways that made me realize that she was absolutely accurate. She was not a very nice person at all. Now, I'm not going to get into all the details. Sheri will laugh at this because this is when Sheri and I became friends through this process because we were in the same spaces. And I found myself saying, this woman's got to be a lunatic. She's crazy. And she would do stuff and say stuff and just sporadic stuff. And it was funny, but I never connected the two. I never said to myself, oh, she told you this, bro. That never came back to my mind. Does that make sense? I'm telling you right now, guys, and I see y'all going hard in the chat. I haven't read it yet. But listen, guys, y'all hear me clearly. I didn't even put the two together. Your man was sitting up there tripping because he was caught up with how good that thing looked. I need y'all to hear this. Now, when I say good that thing looked, meaning that situation, for me, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. She's everything I thought I wanted. She's da-da-da-da-da. You fill in the blank. I was feeling myself. So I could not see. And I love what, excuse me, what Tiara said, see it, believe it, and act accordingly. Absolutely. Tiara, I know you've been down this road. You've been married. You know what I'm saying? You got kids. You're a grown apple woman. You get it. But I promise you, if you are not careful, guys, if we are not careful, we can become blind by the things we see because we are ignoring the things we feel or the things we're picking up on. I need y'all to hear that. All of us are susceptible to that. We're human. So I don't care who you are, your experience, how many times you've been through this. If you are not careful, you will get yourself jammed up because you will ignore that principle. Today, I want to talk about tip number 2, and Sheri is going to drill down on a tip for her next week. And she's going to tell this story from her perspective. But I need you guys to understand that here is a tip to help you discover what people really value and who they really are. And it's a very practical tip, particularly if you're dating, particularly if you are interested in someone, particularly if you're taking a liking to someone and you think, that's a great person. I think, don't really know who they are, really would like to get to know them. When I read this, I thought to myself, ooh, I wish I'd known this 20 some years ago, because I'd have done this a long time ago. Now, Sheri and I did this on another level, not knowing this was what we were doing. And I'm going to share that in a second. But here's the tip. It's going to sound real weird. I want you to put it in the chat. Take a test drive. Take a test drive. Now, I know where y'all minds just went. Because mine did too when I first read it. I said to myself, oh, Lord Jesus, here we go. Because sometimes taking a test drive can be really dangerous or hazardous to your health. Hello. You understand what I'm saying? Tara, they don't get it. Sometimes taking a test drive can be real hazardous to your health, right? Depending on where you're driving to and what you're driving in. Don't get me even started. It's too early for all that because I'm about to start cutting up. My wife ain't here either, or at least she ain't here sitting by my side. Listen to me. This is what I mean when I say take a test drive. Literally, go on an 8-hour drive with the intended person that you want to hang out with. 8 hours. Take a day trip and go somewhere. For me, that would be about a drive from Virginia Beach to Atlanta. Maybe there's a festival. Maybe there's a concert that you're going to go to. Take an 8-hour drive. Go to the event. Come back. Or 4 hours there and 4 hours back. And let me tell you what you're going to discover along that ride. You are going to discover who you're dealing with. You are going to discover. Let me tell you about the awkwardness of silence. There are gems that can be revealed in silence. And when I say silence, I don't literally mean silence necessarily, although that could be it. But I'm talking about space or time. Because after a while, the frivolous conversations are going to come to a halt. You'll be good with surface conversations for about an hour. Some people it's 30 minutes. But literally, after about an hour, I promise you, all the surface stuff is going to die. It's going to die. Now, some of y'all are going to get down to hour 3 and realize, you know what? Oh, we're not going to this event. I'm turning around because this joker is crazy. Or I don't want to be with this person. Or I don't really like. Here's where most people fundamentally make huge mistakes, particularly when they're trying to pick the opposite person. They do things that do not involve them engaging each other on an intellectual level and on a communication level. And that's the telltale sign. And when I say communication, I don't necessarily mean by just verbally communicating and talking. I mean experiencing each other and how you even communicate. We don't have time to unpack that. There's several different ways that people communicate. The question is, have you sat long enough to understand how they communicate? And the bigger question is, what are they saying? What you really saying? What you mean by that? See, here's what I'm going to submit. Ladies, listen to me really carefully. The brother will fizzle if he ain't got no depth to him. He'll fade on you. Now, I'm not even dealing with the brother who don't talk. That's not even who I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about the brother who has nothing to say. Those are two different people. Sheri, they don't get it, babe. Let me tell you how Sheri and I used to do this. When Sheri and I were friends, one of the things that we would do is because we both worked full-time jobs, and, she had a daughter and I had a career that I was just way too consumed by. We found ourselves going out at night after dinner for a few minutes, and we would grab coffee and maybe dessert at places like, y'all remember Bennigan's? Is Bennigan's still around? That was in Maryland, D.C. Bennigan's was our spot. We would go and we would sit, and that's why it's funny, because even when we drink coffee together now, it takes us back to those days when we would go and we would find a spot. Sometimes it was Applebee's. Sometimes, I don't think Applebee's was around back then. It was TJ Roadhouse. It was Bennigan's. It was Fridays. Definitely. But we would go to a place. She said, nah, bro, Bennigan's been gone. You know what I'm talking about, Christy. Remember that Monte Cristo sandwich? Lord Jesus. Oh Lord, don't get me started. That Monte Cristo. Listen, y'all, it's been 19 days, 20 days since I had sugar. You know, I'm having some delusions right now. Your man, just pray for your boy. You understand what I'm saying? But what we would do is we would sit down and we would grab a cup of coffee and we would just sit and talk. And sometimes we would sit until the place closed. It'd be 10 o'clock at night. And we would be sipping on coffee. Now we're wired. We would maybe have a dessert. We would generally not eat dinner. It was after dinner. We had both either had dinner or whatever the case would be. And here was the crazy thing. We were friends. We weren't even really dating, at least in the beginning of that experience. But we enjoyed each other's company, and we found out so much about each other that it made us want to keep coming back to that conversation. It made us want to continue test driving. If you can drive for 8 hours with a person and enjoy that conversation, you onto something. I'm going to encourage you to do that, because that is going to be a way for you to practically determine what a person values, what their vision is, and what is their destination. And is there a space in there for you? Is there a space in there that you actually want to take that ride with them? Because if it's not, you get to go home and say, you know what? Great time, appreciate it, won't be calling you. You get what I'm saying? There will be no second dates. Does that make sense, guys? So I just wanted y'all to understand from my perspective. Sheri asked me, for those of y'all just jumping in wondering, well, where's Sheri? She asked me, she said, babe, listen, you need to go and you need to share that, because that's real talk. And I need you to help people understand your process when it comes to how you pick me. Last thing I'm going to say, my wife, and I'm going to put her out there, she, as you get older and things begin to change physically, your mind begins to change in terms of your mindset, and things are not what they were when you met. Maybe you don't have as much energy. Clearly you're going through changes medically speaking, particularly women. After 50, you start going into that menopause piece and things like that, and life is moving. And she looked over at me and she said, you didn't sign up for all this. And we just talking about things we've gone through. She said, you didn't sign up for my brand of crazy. I'll just put it that way. And all of us got our own little brand of crazy, right? We got our own little idiosyncrasies and our own little stuff. And she said to me, she said, you didn't sign up for all this. And I said, you know what? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Now here's what I didn't know. I didn't know what it would look like. But here's what I did sign up for. Because I told y'all when we first got together, Sheri and I had made a decision separately. And when we discovered one another, we realized that we both had this thought in mind, and that was the next person we get involved with, we want to grow old with them. The next person that I marry, if I ever do this again, it's going to be forever. I want to grow old with that person, because we believed in the institution of marriage. We believed in the sanctity of marriage and all that good stuff, but we had not done it right. We was screwing it up left and right. We just couldn't get it together. And so for us, it was literally, you know what, if we're going to do this again. And we both separately came to those conclusions. This was not something we kind of talked about together. But when we met and we took those drives, for us, it was coffee and dessert. We discovered, you know what? We want to be with someone forever. And we want to grow old with them. Well, today I'm bald. And if I let my hair grow back, it won't grow all the way back. Because like I told you before, I'm bald. I'm real gray. And I'm never going to dye it. It'll be white before I ever, you know what I'm saying, before it ever goes back black. And the reason is because it reminds me of the journey. It reminds me of the price. It's how I've grown up. I have matured. And I need y'all to understand that what Sheri and I have, we built this. And we did it on purpose. And we did it by design. And we can help you do the exact same thing. Here's what I want to suggest before we jump off. If you need community, if you are trying to build a relationship with someone and you need a community of people that can help you navigate that process, we want to help you. That's why we created the Singles group coaching room within the MAPS Relationship Academy. Because before, when we first started MAPS, it's called Marriages and Parenting Successfully. Nowhere in there does it make room for singles, right? And she's on the line now, but our head cheerleader, we like to call her, Karen Curry, was just wearing me out. Coach, look, I'm in the parenting room. I'm getting some great information, helping, because she's got, children. She's got boys. Most her boys are grown. Her daughter's still in the house, and she's like, you know what? I'm crushing the parenting thing. But what about mama? Like, I want to get back on the scene at some point. You know what I'm saying? I want to get back in the rhythm, but I do not want to do what I've been doing. And here's what I've learned, and here's what I've noticed. Coach, you guys, what y'all got is real. I know y'all well enough and been close enough. It ain't a game, and it's legit. And I want to know how y'all did that. And had you ever considered doing a coaching room for singles who want to get married, but they want to do it the right way? They want to do it and skip all the drama. They just need community, and they need to know the behind the scenes. And then they need a place to bounce stuff off of and do that. I said, you know what, Karen? I never thought I could add value to singles, but that I can do. Because what I know to be true is what we created, Sheri and I, is real, and it can be duplicated. You just need to know the tools. You just need to have the community. You just need to have the support. And you just need to have the vulnerability and the courage to be able to share what you're really going through so that we can help you navigate through it. Because at the end of the day, you cannot get to any place of significance by yourself, particularly when it comes to relationships. Guys, that's all I got today. Welcome to Breakfast with the Brookses. Sorry my wife wasn't here, but she made me come here by myself. And she wanted me to share some things that we were talking about. What's going on, Marlon? Good to see you, brother. Appreciate that, Dre. Appreciate that, Chrissy. Guys, Christy, I just want to let you know I love you. I appreciate you. Again, nobody pays us to show up every Saturday morning to give up all this, quote, free game. What we want to do is, our hope is that what we say resonates with you enough to say, you know what, if you need community, you'll come and you'll join. You'll be a part of that. Go to www.thecrcoach.com. Sign up for a free discovery session. We'll talk. We may not be a fit. If we are, we can tell you how it would look to come be a part of our community. If we're not, we can still be friends on social media. We can still be friends in real life, and all will be well with the world. We just want to make sure that you are setting yourself up to win on purpose and by design. At the end of the day, here's what I know to be true. We all need some help. I hope this helped you. Appreciate you for jumping on. What's up, Liz Correa? If you're just jumping on, we're finishing up. Go catch the replay in the bio. Click the link on Instagram and make sure that you guys go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel on Instagram. For those of you guys here on YouTube, follow us on Facebook. Follow us anywhere you can find us, because at the end of the day, here's what I know to be true, guys. We all need some help. Y'all be good, and let's talk soon.